Hello everyone, I just got accepted to Neotropolis, which is the first event that they're ever going to hold that is inspired by Cyberpunk. And so I'm going as a dancer, but for the costume parts of things, I decided to go to the dollar store just to see what they have there. And since summer is coming up, they had awesome stuff, such as these water squirters. So I really love the shape of these. I got one pair, and I think I'm going to spray paint all of it white. And then I don't know if I want to give any distressing on it or if I'm just going to have that naturally come to light. And then I'm going to paint the rest of it like gold and black, which is going to be really cool. And they're functional. So what you do is you literally just like unscrew one of these tubes, fill it with water, screw it back, and then, it comes out of one of these nozzles, which is really freaking cool. So yeah, that was $1.25 because it's not really the dollar store anymore. And then I also got two of these bigger guns, and these are, I guess, similar. You can load the water up here, and instead of white, I think I'm gonna go black, like black and blue or black and purple or something. And I'm just gonna literally follow the design that's already there. Yeah, I'm super excited. Maybe I should light these up too. Who knows? We'll see. And last but not least, there's also this bubble blower. I was gonna get two of these, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna see how it goes for now. You just dip this part into the bubbles and then, press the button, and I think air pushes out bubbles. I kind of like this magenta thing going on. Not sure about the green or the orange. It's kind of got this retro futuristic vibe going for it, so we'll see. But it's very cute. It's like a tiny pistol, hand pistol. So I guess the first order of operation would be these ones. And we're gonna take off the tag and start spraying them all white. Wait.
Yeah, suggested motion for the internet. Let's go.
Okay, you can stop it. So I had never made these types of guns before, nor have I ever DIY'd any. And so I didn't know that spray painting would actually just pop off some plastics, which is what happens later on, as you can see with the water tube that happens with this one. Also, pro tip, take off every single piece so that you can give your spray paint a coat each time so that you get the best coverage. This was a paint and primer, which is weird that this stuff was popping off after two coats. As you could tell by the first spray, it didn't get every single inch of the gun, so I had to actually spray it a few times. I ended up using acrylic paint that I had to go over and seal the white on the guns because this was not working out with just spray paint. Also, with paintbrushes, I could get into all of these spaces that were super tough to get with just spray paint. I literally could touch up any place that I needed to with more of the acrylic, especially in the thinner spots. And I could layer all of the acrylic paints as many times as I wanted to. And it was easier to control because it was a paintbrush, and Finally, it dries so much faster. As you can see, there's a faint green and orange color seeping through the white here, and I wanted it as close to a base white color as possible so that any ornamentation that I did on top of it would not have a tint of the original colors of the squirt gun. Also, I decided midway through painting the water tubes that I wanted these to be gold. And then I realized since it was acrylic, I could just do multiple coats of the gold on top of each other instead of having to waste time and materials doing the white paint. Sometimes you just gotta make these decisions while you're actually working on the piece. Judge me all you want, but these corn dog looking tubes are just drying on a paintbrush and other sticks that I found in my craft storage because that's how I could get a full drying coverage all around instead of laying it down on a side. I literally had no plan beforehand. I just knew what vibe I was going for, which is kind of a white pearlescent, pink, iridescent vibe. The next step was to actually mark all of the areas with the gold that I wanted to paint over, and that way I can make it symmetrical, rather identical on the other squirt gun as well. After I marked everything, I could confidently fill in all of those shapes with the gold and do the same thing to the other gun. Any mistakes I had with the gold, I could just go over with the white acrylic. Painting is so zen for me. I also liked that I could use another gun as a model for the blank sides instead of having to twist and turn the same gun to paint the other side. I screwed the water tubes back onto the gun just to make sure that the paint didn't pop off, even with minor handling, and everything was all well and good. Everything fit perfectly. I didn't have to clean the threads of the tubes when I was putting it back on, and then I decided to be detail oriented and clean up the finer details. Next up is decorating the rest of the gun with some vinyl trim. Yes, I found these sheets all in a pack of a variety of iridescent vinyl online. I'll link it down in the description box below, and decided to map out which areas I didn't paint gold yet so that I could cover the pieces with the corresponding sheets of vinyl. I took out a non-permanent pen so that it could just wipe off and just trace the areas that I wanted to see for just a few seconds while cutting the material before wiping it off. I know some of these details are going to be so small and only appreciated up close, but it's these details to me that really make the actual item. And I promise that it'll be worth it at the end. It'll make the biggest difference while you're holding the gun in your hand. So I tried just cutting the vinyl rectangles for the squirt gun with sharp edges, and it didn't look good. I had to round out the edges because that's what the shape of the gun's mold looks like. I used a Q-tip without the tip to smear glue on, and I was able to put it in without any tweezers, luckily. Because these were an embedded groove, I was able to make patterns for the vinyl sheets really easily. There were 5 grooves total on one side of the squirt gun, and of course, whatever you had to do on one side, you had to do for the other side as well. This part was just so tedious, but like I said, it's worth the effort because it just adds a little bit of glam and shine to the gun as well as personality. I used Gorilla Glue for this, and I don't know if that was the best way to do it because it took forever to dry. However, I think it's still better than super glue because super glue kind of just tends to pop off sometimes, so who knows. It's held on so far after 2 years. All right, so I added another piece of vinyl on the handle just because I thought it would tie in the whole shape together. I used the cap of the other squirt guns that I'm going to show later as a template for a circular piece of vinyl that would go onto the front of the gun, and this was such a pain to cut out. I ended up using a Sharpie because there was no no way that I was going to not touch the sides of this and have the circle line wipe off. Okay, and you can imagine that I'm not done decorating yet because we're gonna add some rhinestones, aka bling. If you've been on my channel before and seen my DIYs, you can find that playlist after this video. If you are new, I like shiny stuff. I got Crow/Leo vibes all up in this, and so I gotta make this shiny and glittery because that's my personality. Believe it or not, I found these strips of rhinestones at the dollar store. Actually, it was the 99-cent store at the time, and then I've never found it there again. But I still have a couple rows, and I was able to decorate my squirt guns, or rather Cyberpunk guns, accordingly. You know how I mentioned tweezers earlier? Yeah, I finally took them out because it was just so much easier to grab each rhinestone and then put them in the spots that I wanted them to be in. You see those spaces that have white circles on them? That's where they're gonna go, and they fit perfectly. Trim is great because if you're not sure where you want to put a row of rhinestones, you could literally just lay it on top of wherever you'd like to see if it looks good from far away. Cyberpunk is all about lights. Like literally that's all it's based off of, is like futurism and cool lighting, because everything is running off of hopefully solar or whatever. We're just gridded into the electricity and it's part of our lives 24/7. Anyway, I found these LEDs that you could twist and then they would emit either white or warm white light. The bodies originally came in a silver casing, and since I'm going to be using gold for both types of guns, I decided to paint the casing gold. I actually tried 2 different methods of doing this, but I'll show the second method when I do the second gun set. But for now, I'm just gonna show me painting with the same gold that I have been painting with for this gun because that's what I used and kept for this project. I decided to super glue them to the gun's tips. This also means that I won't be able to use the gun as a water gun anymore, but that's okay. It's really easy to take off, and also it's for Cyberpunk purposes, so I was totally fine with that. So it's pretty cool. These LEDs also have this ring that kind of guards the area where you can twist the light so that it turns on. It's just like a precaution to block it, and it also is a little bit water resistant, I found. I don't remember why I took these water tubes off. I think it was just to give, I took these water tubes off so that I could put a top coat over everything with some Mod Podge to seal it in with a clear coat and protect it from the elements in the future. I kind of have better footage of it with the second pair of guns, which I'll show you next week. But for now, this is kind of the final look. Are you ready for the reveal? Anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share so that other people can be inspired to make their own DIYs of Cyberpunk guns using summer squirters. Oh, that didn't sound right. Subscribe and click the notification bell so that you know when I have new content out. I post every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And until next time, keep curious, everyone. Jack out.